Hello and welcome to Fresh Blood, a podcast about killing it in the age of ageism, where we prove that new blood does not necessarily equal young blood. I'll be your host, Jolie Downs. With over 20 years of executive recruiting experience, I've learned how much we need discussions around this issue. Thank you for joining us here on Fresh Blood. Today I am talking with Jerie Rollins. Jerie started her career with a job that was acceptable, but instead of staying satisfied with acceptable, she overcame fears to follow her passions and now leads a fulfilling career in the medical field. Jerie has gone through that transition phase that many of us have experienced or are currently experiencing, and I'm excited for her to share some of her insights with us today. Jerie, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me about your story. I would love to hear more about your background.
Thank you very much for having me. I very much appreciate it. My background is not different from many other women. I was a single mother for quite a long time, since 1993. I raised my two daughters, who are now 32 and 28, from a very young age. They were very young. I was working for like an audio video company, selling parts nationally and internationally. And that was fun. And it was very interesting. I met a lot of people. I lost that job in 1995 and fumbled around a little bit looking for jobs, but just feeling like, I wasn't really qualified for a whole lot. I didn't know what to do. So I ended up going to massage school. Massage was something that I've had a passion for and a natural aptitude for since I discovered that when I was 16 years old. So here I am, 30, like, well, why not? Let's give it a try.
And what was that like going to massage school?
Yeah, it was very different. I was always very type A personality, bullet point thinker, bullet point communicating style, which I've since learned is rather abrupt and abrasive. So had to change that. Yeah. So getting into a very type B environment forced me to grow. It was quite uncomfortable at first.
So you had that type A personality that you had to adapt to this type B environment, essentially. Did you find anything that worked for you to make that transition?
A lot of reminders from people who cared about me. It took a lot of reminders.
It's good to have those people in our lives, isn't it?
Yeah, that's super important. And also just on my own, I had the desire and the will and the motivation to become better at communicating. And that was really important. I had to make that conscious decision first before any reminder from anybody would be useful or helpful.
How long did you do your massage work?
Oh gosh, I was I opened up my practice right after my first month of massage school. So that was in 1996. And I had that practice until I actually transitioned into the career I'm in right now. So until 1996 to 2008.
So what made you decide to do this transition?
Well, during my practice, it was growing and it was doing well, and I enjoyed it immensely. But I reached a certain point where it was no longer growing, and then I noticed it was actually shrinking. So I got my head out of my little massage studio and found out what was going on in the world. And I came to the realization that, we're having an economic downturn. And this was before the .com bubble kind of imploded. Yeah. So it's like, oh my, we're having an economic downturn. Okay, I need to do something. So I thought about it quite a bit. I knew healthcare was always going to be a viable career. And I decided to move in that direction, which was a big decision for me because that required me going into real school. Massage school to me was not real school because it was easy for me, at least. And my perception, it was easy. But real school was difficult because I was not a good student in grammar school. I would say, let's say middle school on. Grammar school wasn't that much of a challenge because the teachers there help you along a lot more. But once you reach that middle school age, you're transitioning into being more independent and self-motivating in your studies. And I have no problems with independence, and I didn't have any problems with self-motivation. I just didn't seem to be grasping the concepts. I was feeling further and further behind. And by the time I was in high school, I felt like I was never going to catch on.
Oh, how frustrating.
Yeah, I ended up dropping out of high school when I was in the first month of my junior year of high school. I dropped out.
I can see going back to school being a big challenge for you, especially if you went through that experience. How did you overcome that? Because a lot of people are going through changes right now, too. So, this is really a valuable experience as far as how you went through it and overcame. What was that like for you?
Terrifying. From the time that I dropped out of high school, and I was convinced and encouraged by a very good friend of mine who was a school teacher to take the California High School Proficiency Examination and get my high school diploma. So I did with a lot of reluctance, and I made it through, and it was difficult. She really helped me to understand my learning style, which was no style whatsoever. I wasn't catching on to things because I was dyslexic, and I still am dyslexic and never knew that. So, by discovering this and her helping me through that process of, okay, if this path or this direction or this explanation does not make sense, let me find another way that you can connect from A to B. And she was instrumental in building my confidence up enough to get that diploma at the age of 19. From there, fast forward to my decision to go back to real school, terrifying because now I've got all of these, that negative voice inside your head that says, you're not going to be able to do this. Remember what it was like in school? And it's amazing how you can, I guess you could say you can forget that voice exists, or you could push it back just far enough that it's only a whisper until a life situation comes up where now it's a roar because it's a direct connection to what you're trying to accomplish.
And how do you deal with that war?
Well, I didn't have the tools back then to deal with that roar. What I did was I basically beat it back with the stick, you know? So,
Use what you can, right?
yeah. So here I am just dealing with it and making it happen and still listening to that horrible voice and yeah, finding ways to talk myself through it. I guess, it was more so just self talk. I can do this. I can do this one class at a time, one day in school at a time. And that's really how I did it is baby steps. I mean, my very first class after taking my placement tests, which were quite humbling, was to take a remedial math class. And I knew I could do that. So I started with something I knew I could do. And I built my confidence from there. And I had a wonderful teacher there, and he actually taught me how to learn. And it was just like a house on fire from that point on. I had my girlfriend when I was 19 years old help me with learning strategies to get around my particular learning challenge. And then I had this very patient, wonderful math teacher who kept asking me, why are you in this class? You're too advanced for it. It's like, believe me, I need to be here. And then, we talked more about it, and he discovered, what my learning situation was, as well as helped me to discover that my particular fears really were unfounded. Fear that I wouldn't be able to succeed. And he taught me how to learn. He gave me even more learning strategies to build upon the ones that I had. And it was the best class I've ever taken. And it set me on an overachiever in a good way in academics.
That's amazing. Isn't it insane what a good teacher can do and have an impact on your life? And so you made it through college. You graduated from college.
Yes, I graduated from college, and had you told me beforehand that you're going to graduate in college and do so well, and I'm like, yeah, you are crazy, lady. But I did. I graduated with high honors.
What a great example, too, of how we're so capable of anything that we put our mind to. I bet I can only imagine how good that graduation felt to you.
I was almost in tears. It was a massive load off of my shoulders, as well as this incredible boost to my ego. I felt like I was on top of the world.
Ah, that's great. And now, what industry did you go into?
Yes, I am in the medical field. I have a degree in radiologic technology. So my field is diagnostic imaging at the local hospital, and I work very closely with the ER department. So I shoot x-rays, I perform computed tomography scans, which are CAT scans. I am also very proficient in mammography. These are all things I hold licenses in. Bone density scanning. and as well as, which is called bone densitometry, as well as fluoroscopy.
So I would imagine, okay, so if you're doing these things, I would imagine that you're dealing with a lot of people who are in very vulnerable times of their lives. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
So what's that like for you in this role? I mean, how do you deal with that?
I firmly believe that my purpose in life is to elevate people, to help them achieve either a greater sense of well-being, which is what I do in my job, or even socially, a greater sense of themselves. There's so many situations, whether it's a horrible maiming accident, just being in pain, anything like that, that can beat you down emotionally and psychologically, take away your independence for a limited period of time or possibly permanently. So to have somebody be able to communicate with you in a realistic and compassionate way. We don't need to have somebody come in and baby us. We really don't. But I do need to have somebody come into my exam room and be compassionate with me, speak to me as an adult, yet be very respectful of my pain level or my emotional state. That's how I try to elevate anybody's experience in the hospital.
I'm just going to take a moment to thank you for that, because I've had moments in these types of situations where I've had people who dealt with me in that way and who have dealt with me in other ways. And coming to someone like you who takes that tact and is very real and kind and compassionate makes all the difference in the world when you're in that moment that is so difficult and vulnerable personally. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you so much. That just really, really touches my heart and makes me feel so good. Thank you.
You're doing good work. So those are those pivotal moments in our lives where everything feels so sharp. It's all right there at your emotions are just ready to go. So having someone deal with you and like you said, an adult way, in a very real way, but also with that kindness and compassion, it just makes all the difference. So you've had a very interesting life and you've gone through a couple of different transitions. And I know that you've been doing this work for quite a while. What do you believe is key to continued success in life?
Continued success in life for me, and I believe for many people, is to never stop learning, to never stop growing as an individual, whether it's in your particular industry or possibly growing away from that industry and finding something else that is better suited to your passions.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you need to find the thing that is aligned with your passions. If what you're doing is not making you happy or aligned with your interests, and you're not happy with what you're doing, what are you doing in life? We spend too many hours of our lives doing our work to not have some kind of passion for it.
Exactly. And that's why I stuck with the medical field. I started out in jobs, as we all do when we're younger. We're trying to find our way. I landed in the audio video industry because it was decent money at the time, had good benefits, and interesting. I met a lot of wonderful, interesting people, but it wasn't my passion. Talking to the people and relating with them while I'm on the phone with them, that was definitely more in line with my passions. I enjoy learning from people and I enjoy sharing. Then I went into massage, the alternative healthcare field, and that was definitely, funneling all of my energies towards the direction I ultimately wanted to go. And then being in diagnostic imaging is even more so refined. What I have discovered, though, is it is not 100% my passion. I'm probably at the 80 percentile there.
So what is the extra that's missing?
The extra that is missing is being able to educate people so that they can move forward, so they can become greater than what they are. That is a passion of mine.
Are you thinking of applying this to what you're currently doing, or are you thinking of doing something a little different?
I've been giving this a lot of thought lately, and I think the direction I want to go in is more along the lines of coaching and public speaking.
Do you have a plan for this? Or is this something new in life?
This is super new. I mean, this is one of these things that I came up with while I was meditating and doing a little bit of, vision work. And I saw myself up on a stage talking to an audience. I'm like, whoa, what is this? Let me dive down that road.
I love it. I hope we see you there one day. And I love that this is all new because this is a great time in life to be thinking about these things right now in 2020 with this pandemic around us. It's a great time for us all to be questioning what is it that we really want in our lives? What do we really want to be doing? And coming up with those answers and then coming up with a plan to reach those goals.
Exactly.
So now have you ever experienced or witnessed ageism in the workplace yourself?
I have on both ends. The field that I'm in right now, diagnostic imaging, when I first started in this field was in 2008. I graduated, I got a job. I completely uprooted myself and moved into the San Luis Obispo County from the San Francisco Bay Area. And when I started, it was very interesting. I'm a woman who's 44 years old, yet I have coworkers that are treating me like I just got out of high school. So it was a form of ageism, but different than what one would expect from a woman my age at the time. It was very surprising. So I had to do a lot of work to correct this behavioral pattern that was not conducive to teamwork.
What did you do?
Well, I did a lot of proving of myself. I worked my butt off. I took on the extra hours. I proved that I could do any task that they set out for me and do it to the best of my ability beyond just basic competence.
And then did that work?
It did, actually, but I don't recommend it for everybody because it's exhausting. It might just be smarter to have that conversation with the individuals who are most likely unconsciously treating you, in my case, like I was a kid.
Did you ever have a conversation like that?
Not at that particular company. I ended up leaving that company because their vision and their growth was taking me away from mine.
And then you went to a new hospital or?
That was an imaging clinic. And I went to another imaging clinic. They actually approached me about a job, and it was very interesting, and it was taking me more so in the direction I wanted to go. So I said yes. And that worked out well. And I gained a tremendous amount of experience. And again, I encountered the you're just a kid mentality. I don't necessarily look my age. So, and in my 40s, I definitely didn't look my age. So I think there was that part of it, what I physically look like, and the fact that I was very excited in my field because it was still new enough for me. So I imagine that I was presenting myself unconsciously in a fashion where I was younger than what I really was.
Yeah. Well, excitement shouldn't be taken for youth. Excitement is something that we should have at every stage in our life. And unfortunately, there is more when you're youthful. So we all should be adding more excitement and enthusiasm into our lives, if you ask me.
I agree with you 100%. I think that it's easy to become mentally old and jaded, especially if you have been inside of this one company since the beginning of your career and you're coming up on year 20. I mean, where's the wonder? Where's the discovery unless you consciously are making those choices to continue to live in that state of discovery?
You're so right. You have to consciously make those choices. That's actually very powerful and something that needs a moment. You have to consciously make the decision to keep that in your life.
Yes, it's a gift. It's a gift that we underutilize.
If someone felt like they were living in a youth-dominated culture, is there anything that you would suggest to them to stay relevant?
Yes. Currently, I am working in a youth-dominated department culture, so I understand that aspect now. My personal belief is to keep learning new concepts in your field or in your social circle, wherever this culture is. I'm going to speak from a professional point of view, because it just kind of narrows it down. Otherwise, I could get all the way out into crazy tangents. So keep learning new concepts in your field. Your younger coworkers have more current knowledge, more updated knowledge, not to minimize the knowledge that you have, which is completely valid, but it may need a refresher course or may need a little spitch polish, shall we say, and become more current, especially in the terminology.
Oh, yeah. The speed with which we are getting knowledge these days is incredible. So that is actually really good advice.
Yeah, thank you. Secondly, I highly recommend updating your personal look. It's very easy to get into our comfortable look, the one that you know, I adopted this look when I was 25 and I look great. Well, right now I'm 55 and that 25-year-old look is 25 years out of date. I may still look decent, but I don't look updated and I don't fit in with a younger culture because who knows, maybe it's my hairstyle, maybe it's the shoes that I'm wearing. They may look like granny shoes or it could be my entire outfit. Talk to people if you have younger friends that could advise you on how to just, update my look without looking like I'm trying to be a kid is important. If you don't have a social circle that can help out with that, hire a fashion consultant. Learn how to dress appropriately for your work environment. For instance, if I'm working in an environment where when I started out in the field, everybody wore suits, those stodgy gray or tweed or navy or black or depressing colored suits. Now, I say it that way because younger people look at those and think, man, that's really depressing looking. It's dated. It dates us and prevents us from being more relevant in their eyes. So, find out what that updated business attire looks like. Go shopping.
This is actually a really good point. I realize it's been a long time since I've updated my own look. So it might be time for myself too.
I had to do that myself. So I was getting entirely too comfortable in the kind of Earth Mother look I had going on for a little while. And, one day I looked in the mirror, a full length mirror. I don't own one in my home. I do need to fix that. And I realized you look like an old hippie chick and you're not wearing this look well. So I did some discovery, more on, first of all, I had to reflect on what is the image I choose to project. Who am I really inside? At that time, I was more Earth Mother-ish. I was into my massage practice and that just fit in with that completely. But I'm not anymore, yet I was carrying around this package. I was wearing a package that did not reflect who I was inside.
Oh, that's really good. That's also about knowing who you are, who your package is, who you want to be, and updating your image appropriately.
Exactly. Another thing you can do to really help yourself become more relevant and fit in this younger culture is to learn what younger people are interested in outside of the workplace. It's going to help you be able to relate to your younger coworkers on a non-business level or younger people in your social circle even. And it encourages a more comfortable conversation and makes me personally more relatable to my younger coworkers.
So true. There are a lot of differences. I can see that with my teenager, just the differences in culture, music, and so much that I am unaware of that I am now learning because of my teenager.
Yeah. And teenagers are fantastic teachers if we allow them to be.
That's very wise right there. Yes. I'm finding that. It goes both ways.
It does. It does. We impart our wisdom. They impart their wonder.
So I have a lot of people in certain industries where they are in their 30s and they might have someone in their 40s or 50s who are applying for the roles underneath them. And I know I've spoken with them and psychologically they're just a little uncomfortable with that. Is there any advice that you would give someone who is feeling that way?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, that uncomfortable feeling is, let's say I'm the 30-year-old who is interviewing a 40 or 50-year-old individual for a job. If I'm uncomfortable with this person and during the interview, I need to ask myself, why am I uncomfortable with their greater experience in the field or even if it's just their age? Most of the time, it's usually due to experience, though, my thoughts. So why is their greater experience affecting my comfort level? I need to name that emotion. Is it fear on my part? Am I afraid maybe they're going to be able to advance beyond me because they have greater experience? Am I maybe a little bit envious of the fact that they have so much more experience, knowledge, cultural, work culture ability that I don't have yet? Work culture maturity, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. Am I insecure in my own position in my job? Am I feeling sort of shaky in my job? Anything like that. By identifying that emotion, it's going to help create clarity in my mind. And that's vital for me to be able to work through that feeling.
Yes. And that's key. What you're saying is finding out where that feeling is coming from, asking yourself the right questions about why it's there. Whereas most people probably feel that uncomfortable feeling and just move on. They don't even go there.
But here's the thing. You got to look at it. You've got to examine all of its little nooks and crannies, because once you have this clarity, that emotion loses its power, and then you can make much more objective decisions.
So, wrapping up, then, let me ask you, what would be the best advice you would give someone in the 40 plus category who might be at a point in time in their life where they're struggling to find that right next thing?
Really good. Keep learning, keep growing as a person. You have to learn yourself first before you can determine what direction you want to go in. People who do keep growing and learning are generally happier, they're more positive, and they have a higher level of self-confidence. And I believe that these can contribute to your professional marketability, as well as doesn't want to be happier.
We all want to be happier.
Definitely. I mean, I get up every day and I say to myself, okay, what are 3 wonderful things I can do today? Whether it's my day off or not, if it's in my job, what are 3 wonderful things I can do in my job today? And one of them I want to focus on, my coworkers. What's a really wonderful thing I could do for one of my coworkers or all of them? What's a wonderful thing I could do for my patients? What is something that is going to just have a positive impact on my director?
What a great way to start your day. What if everybody started their day that way and actually followed through with what they felt? We could all make huge impacts. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you for that. I'm taking that one too.
Yeah, by all means.
Thank you so much, Jerie. There were so many great takeaways from this call. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for asking me to do so. I've had a marvelous time.
I so enjoyed speaking with Jerie and learning about her story. I love her resilience during times of transition, her ability to overcome those fears and then go on and dominate them. She had so many insights that I found impactful. She talked about the negative internal voice and how she had to beat that back in order to move forward with her goals. This is a really important message. It's another topic that could take an entire episode. You must try to stop those negative internal thoughts. Your brain is a supercomputer, and your thoughts are the program that runs it. Your thoughts become these unconscious programs for your mind. When you argue for your limitations, when you mentally embrace them, then you'll get to keep them. So be aware, and when you have that negative thought, take a deep breath, flip it, and visualize the positive. She overcame challenges that felt large by taking baby steps. This is very powerful. It is so easy to give up when faced with a big challenge. The overall road can look overwhelming. Stop looking and worrying about that big, long road and focus on the next step. Just keep taking baby steps, and you will eventually get to where you want to go. Jerie brought up a couple of other things that I want to take a side moment here to have a couple thank yous. I want to thank all of those inspirational teachers out there. Her story reminds us of the unbelievable impact that the teachers have out there building up those souls and helping them believe in themselves, whatever age they might be. Your individual reach as a teacher will never be able to be fully calculated. I thank you for the incredibly important work that you do, as well as a huge, huge thank you to all the professionals working in the medical field. Your work is vital, literally, to us all. Thank you for the important work that you are doing. And I know that your work is not easy in normal times. I can't imagine the pressure you're all feeling at this time. So I'm just going to leave you with my very immense gratitude and appreciation. Jerie shared with us that she loves her work, but that she is looking at expanding to fulfill all areas of her interests. This is a reminder that it's a great time to be thinking about goals in life right now. We are at a flux, the world itself in a transition phase. I would suggest that we all take a moment to reflect and think about our personal goals over the next couple of years, and then spend some time figuring out how to get there. Too often, we take the passenger seat in our own life without even realizing it. Make sure you are the one doing the driving. Finding work that aligns with your passions can make all the difference in your level of excitement in life. And Jerie brings up a vital point here. Excitement is needed at every stage in life. And as we get older, it's important to be conscious and be proactive about making those choices that keep us in awe of life, in the joy of discovery. We must choose to find the excitement. She gives really good advice about staying relevant. Keep learning new concepts in your field and in your social circle. Stay updated on industry and technology trends that impact your work. The younger generation will grow into the most relevant, updated information naturally, so everyone else needs to keep educating themselves to keep up. She also reminds us to think about who we want to project to the world and to update our look accordingly if it's needed. Jerie talked about asking yourself those right questions when faced with an uncomfortable feeling. Instead of glossing over that feeling, ask yourself questions to gain clarity on how and why you're feeling that way. Once you have clarity over those emotions, they will lose their power and you'll be able to make more objective decisions. Learn why those uncomfortable feelings are happening and grow from it. Finally, she reminds us to keep learning and growing as a person. You are happier, more positive, and have a higher level of confidence, which, let's be honest, not only does contribute to your professional marketability, but also to your personal attractiveness. And we all want that. I want to leave you with this final thought. Let's all start our day as Jerie does, thinking of at least 3 wonderful things that you can do today for your coworker, for your boss, your family, or your friends. Let's all do this and make our days and those of the people around us that much better. Thank you so much for that, Jerie. Until next time. Thank you for spending time with us on Fresh Blood. If you love this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, or giving us a review. I'm looking forward to connecting with you again on the next episode.